Dr. Daniel Carter was a man driven by purpose. He wasn't just a doctor. He was a healer with a deep sense of duty to his patients. Working at St. Luke's Medical Center, one of the most renowned hospitals in the city, Daniel had made a name for himself as a dedicated and skilled surgeon. But more than his expertise, it was his compassion that set him apart. He believed that every life was worth fighting for, even if it meant bending the rules. One late evening, as Daniel was preparing to end his shift, an emergency call came in. A young boy, about 7 years old, had been in a terrible car accident. The boy was rushed into the ER, barely clinging to life. His mother, a distraught woman named Elizabeth Hayes, arrived shortly after, her face pale with fear. Daniel could see the desperation in her eyes as she pleaded with the doctors to save her son. The situation was dire. The boy, named Ethan, had multiple internal injuries, and every second counted. Protocol dictated that certain high-risk surgeries required approval from the hospital board, but Daniel knew there was no time for that. Ignoring the protocol, Daniel quickly prepped for surgery, knowing full well the risks he was taking with his career. The surgery was long and challenging, but Daniel was determined. After several hours, he emerged from the operating room, exhausted but relieved. Ethan was going to make it. Elizabeth, who had been anxiously waiting, broke down in tears of gratitude. She thanked Daniel profusely, unable to express just how much his act of kindness meant to her. However, the next morning, Daniel was called into the administrator's office. The hospital board had found out that he had performed the surgery without the required approval. Despite the fact that he had saved the boy's life, they couldn't overlook his defiance of protocol. The decision was swift. Daniel was fired on the spot. The news spread quickly, and Daniel was left devastated. He had dedicated his life to helping others, and now, in the blink of an eye, it was all gone. As Daniel packed his belongings, he couldn't shake the feeling of injustice. But before he left, Elizabeth appeared in his office. She had heard what happened and couldn't believe it. Elizabeth invited Daniel to dinner as a way to thank him, and though he was hesitant at first, he accepted. Over dinner, Daniel learned more about Elizabeth. She was a single mother, raising Ethan on her own. She had built a successful business from the ground up and was, in fact, a multimillionaire. But despite her wealth, she was humble and kind-hearted. As they talked, Daniel found himself opening up to her about his struggles and fears. Elizabeth listened intently, offering words of encouragement and support. As the weeks turned into months, Daniel and Elizabeth grew closer. Daniel began to spend more time with Ethan, who had made a full recovery. The three of them started to feel like a family, and Daniel found joy in the simple moments they shared. Playing in the park, cooking meals together, and just being there for each other. Despite the joy he found in his new relationships, Daniel still missed his work as a doctor. One day, he received a call from St. Luke's. The hospital board had reconsidered their decision. After learning more about Elizabeth's background and her influence, combined with the public support for Daniel, they realized they had made a mistake. They offered him his job back, along with an apology. But Daniel, having seen life from a new perspective, wasn't sure he wanted to return to the hospital. Elizabeth encouraged him to follow his heart. She saw how much Daniel loved being a doctor, but also recognized the importance of his happiness. In the end, Daniel decided to return to medicine, but not at St. Luke's. Instead, he opened a small clinic in a less privileged part of the city where he could treat patients without the constraints of hospital bureaucracy. Elizabeth supported him every step of the way, helping him finance the clinic and offering her business expertise to ensure its success. Their relationship continued to grow, and eventually, they admitted what they had both been feeling for a long time. They were in love. Daniel proposed to Elizabeth, and she happily accepted. They were married in a small, intimate ceremony, with Ethan proudly standing by their side as the ring bearer. In the years that followed, Daniel, Elizabeth, and Ethan became a close-knit family. Daniel's clinic flourished, becoming a beacon of hope for the community, while Elizabeth continued to grow her business, now with Daniel by her side. St. Luke's Medical Center regretted ever letting Daniel go, but he had found his true calling elsewhere. Together, they built a life filled with love, compassion, and purpose. Daniel had saved Ethan's life, but in the process, he had found a new life of his own, one filled with the love and support of a family who cared for him deeply. And as for Elizabeth, she had found not just a doctor for her son, but a partner for life. Hope you enjoyed this story. Don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel. Your participation is essential so that we can continue to bring you more incredible stories. Share it with your friends to help our channel grow. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.